preserved my youth. Not only did it capture my goals, it told me the truth.
Conversate for a few, cause it a few.
I let them know we missing you. The love is unconditional.
Wave your hands, what's the land if we family?
We got a world premiere right here, now get lost.
So off we go, let the trumpets blow. And hold on, because the driver of the mission is a pro.
You know, one of the big things that's been going along right now is the Republicans, and I'm glad you made sure that you said that you were a Democrat. The Republicans have been working hard under the authority of Donald Trump, under the directive of Donald Trump, to change up the voting counties, the voting districts in multiple states. And many, which I call the I hate black people states, like Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama. Now, some of the courts are fighting. I saw something where Alabama and South Carolina said, hey, listen, you can't do this. But explain to the listeners what exactly is going on with this racial gerrymandering. There's cracking, there's other methods of doing this. What exactly are they trying to do, and how would that impact Black people?
Well, I mean, you said it. They are trying to dilute Black representation. I won't even say they're trying to dilute the Black vote, but they're definitely trying to dilute our representation. I sit in the second congressional district of Georgia, where the Honorable Sanford Bishop is my congressman, and we're uniquely positioned where this is a predominantly Black district in rural Georgia. And, you know, we're thinking that they're going to do some things to try to play with that. And it's probably going to put even more Republicans or people who won't typically vote Democrat in our district. I will say that they've done a really good job of not saying Black, and they have made it more about the political parties. But we all know what that means in the South. Black people are typically Democrats. So it does give the appearance, and it is them, you know, messing with representation for Black people. Although they'll say it's representation for Democrats. But whether it's Black or Democrat, you know, I wouldn't even be in favor of us doing this. I wouldn't be in favor of the Democratic Party doing this unless it's a retaliation. Now, you know, kudos to California for what they did. Absolute kudos for Gavin Newsom and the Cali crew. I'm okay with it in retaliation, but just on its face, no, I'm not with that. And unfortunately, I feel like we've been placed in a situation where states like California do have to kind of do something to punch back.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't want to say it bothers me, but it does annoy me. So I guess I will say bother. It bothers me that a lot of times I find that Democrats are in the reactive position instead of the proactive position when it comes to these things. We know how these people are. We know how they are. They have shown us over and over who they are. We know who their leader is. You know, a lot of people call him Cheeto Satan. We know how he is. You know, it is satanic what he's doing. And I do think that knowing how they are and how they move, we should be in a proactive position where we're on the offense instead of the defense all the time.
You know, there's a couple of things when it comes to that. I read a book several years ago, and it's called Dark Money. And it goes back to when the Supreme Court made the decision. I guess it was I think it was Citizens United, when they allowed private money to be able to be uncapped and how they can contribute to elections. And it talked about how the Koch brothers, KOCH, how they implemented a plan when President Barack Obama was elected, that they said, listen, no, we have to make sure that we do something to not only fix this, but to make sure that it can never happen again. So they put forth a strategy to go after the different state houses, to go after the governor's mansions, because they knew that if we control the state houses, if we control the governor's mansion, then we could do exactly what we're doing right now. So they have been very strategic and systematic in what they're doing. And for me, the problem that I have with the Democrats, and there's a couple, but I'm still going to vote Democrat because I know
That's right.
I know who has my interest in mind, right? And it's not the Republicans.
Right.
The problem
Right.
that you have is that too many in the party have that we'll go high when they go low mentality. When you see Gavin Newsom, Mr. I can't read either, so I'm just like you black folks. Still, he's willing to go there with them, and we need more people in
Hmm.
the Democratic Party to do that because they don't mind being ruthless when they have power. And in order for us to combat that, in my personal opinion, I think that we need to be just as ruthless in
Yes.
combating that. Now, I know a lot of people, like on my other show, Man, listen, they're like, well, listen, I'm not going to be like them. To me, that's a losing mentality. We're going to continue to lose because they're
Hmm.
unified even throughout the craziness. They know Trump is crazy, but their
Absolutely.
but their ability to stay focused on the overall goal, which is preserving white supremacy. I will say it.
Yes.
I'll say it.
Hmm.
White supremacy.
No, that's what it
They
is.
can look, they can pinch their nose and look past some of the things that the Republicans do that they don't necessarily like or align with their morals.
I mean, I agree. Michelle Obama is one of my sheroes. I love her. Love you, girl. Love you, Michelle. But I think that that whole mentality of when they go high, we go low, it does not serve us well.
Oh, when they go
And
low,
as
we
much,
go high. When they
yeah,
go
yeah,
low, we go
yeah.
high.
Thank
Yeah,
you. When they go low, we go high. Thank you.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
it's a foreign concept to me, so I mess
Right.
it up.
Either way, it's some dumb
But
shit. She's a very intelligent woman, but that's some dumb shit to
very. But
say.
yeah, that's not my ministry. When they go low, I go under hell. You hear me? Under hell is where I go. And I don't understand why we would even have that mentality, knowing how these people have done. And, you know, someone will probably be upset with me saying these people. But when I say that, I'm talking about the Republicans. Knowing how they move, knowing all the things that they've done, I actually just saw something from Burt Jones where he was showing a video of Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is our Democratic governor nominee, where she was saying that she wants to leave things like allowing boys to play in girls' sports to the athletic associations. And I agree with that. That is their decision. I agree. But you have all of these Republicans in his comments who are just tearing this woman down. And my comment is, you know, I'm just laughing at the hypocrisy of Republicans being upset at this woman taking government out of a situation. Are they not the party of small government and limiting government overreach? You know, they're just a bunch of hypocrites. They
They
are a bunch of power hungry hypocrites.
That's it. They are the party of hypocrisy.
Yes.
When they say they are pro-life, no. You are
Mm-mm.
pro-birth because you don't want these white girls terminating these babies because you
Hmm.
know that eventually you're going to be outnumbered. But
That's right.
that child is born, you don't want to do anything for that child. You don't want it to be educated. You don't want it to have food.
Hmm.
You don't want to have access to a decent life in this country. So stop saying that you are pro-life because you're not. And that's exactly what they are.
Absolutely.
They are the hypocrites. So let's talk about your state, Georgia.
Okay, let's talk about Georgia. Georgia's
So
on everybody's mind.
so Kemp, the governor of Georgia,
Hmm.
Brian Kemp, they put into law, and I don't have the specific details, but I know that they focus on specifically the 5 or 6 counties that constitute the Atlanta metro area, where they made the
Yes.
ballot nonpartisan. And many
Hmm.
people say in an effort to confuse the voters. And they were really systematic to say that it's only for certain positions that would be put on the ballot that would be nonpartisan. Now, how they can say this is only applies to Atlanta, because I tell people all the time, Atlanta's not Georgia.
It is not at all.
Atlanta might be in Georgia, but it is
Hmm.
not Georgia. When you step outside of
Right.
Atlanta, you realize what Georgia really is, where
That's
you
right. You're running the red
live.
dirt and red politics.
Peach County
Absolutely.
for sure.
Mhm.
So talk about what they did in Atlanta and why that impacts Black people so negatively.
So I have heard people talk about it being a way to confuse voters. I don't think they're trying to confuse voters. I think they're trying to shroud who they are so that they can get into spaces that they typically would not be able to get into. They're trying to Republicans so that Republicans can get back on city councils in the metro area, get back on boards of commissions, boards of education, become sheriff again. In all of those metro counties, you have Black people who are Democrats who are the top law person. And I say law person because some of those people are actually women. Like DeKalb County has a female sheriff.
Mm.
So a Black female sheriff. So I feel like they're trying to, I don't want to say take over Metro Atlanta, but what they're trying to do is control Metro Atlanta again.
Mhm.
Um, Atlanta and the metro area has been Black and Democratic for a very long time, and they just want control again. That is simple as that. There's no other reason because whatever their reasoning would be, or the reasoning they say they have for it, why wouldn't it apply to all 159 counties in Georgia?
Well, I talked about this with a few people that I know, and
Hmm.
it's hard to dispute this, but I think when it comes to Black America, Atlanta is the most important city when you talk about Black politics, Black business. I don't know if there's any other city when it comes to just Black people and the concentration of political and economic power. I don't know if there's another city in the U.S. that really can top Atlanta. So if they can infiltrate it in the way that you just talked about, and they can start to
Hmm.
siphon off or weaken that power, then look what it does to us as a community. Because
Right.
Atlanta had a strong history. A lot of my frat brothers had put in policies where they was like, no, if you're going to be a contractor, if you're going to do
Yes,
this, if you're
Maynard
going to do this,
Jackson.
Maynard Jackson,
Hmm.
Andrew Young, they said no. If you're
Yes.
going to have a business where you put out the contractor, you must entertain Black business, right? A certain percentage
Hmm.
has to be Black business, and they want to be able to weaken that.
Right. And there's a lot of Black political power. There's a lot of Black business there. You know, I remember talking to a young man at Fort Valley State, and he was saying how different things were for him coming to Fort Valley after growing up in Atlanta. He said, "I'm so used to everything being Black." He was like, "I went to the courthouse and I see all these white." I was like, "Well, that's just how it is around here. Doesn't mean they won't help you because they will help you." He was like, "Yeah, I know. It's just odd though." And I get that.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I remember when
Yeah.
they were having the uprising in Atlanta, and Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom, she brought out like T.I. and it was T.I. and I
Hmm.
think Killer Mike. And
Yes.
T.I. said some silly stuff in my opinion. He was like, Atlanta is Wakanda. We got to protect it, right? In a sense, he
Yeah.
was right because
Mhm.
Atlanta is almost fictitious because when you go to other places, like me, I grew up in Kansas. For us,
Mhm.
going somewhere and seeing a Black person in power, or even seeing a Black person in the building, that was like, oh shit, they got Black people there. Like, so
Mhm.
if you grow up in like Philadelphia, you grow up in like New York or somewhere where there's a lot more diversity, then it is something that is strange. So I can imagine, conversely, when you go and you see how it really is, the reality is for a lot of other people,
Mhm.
it probably is a culture shock because a lot of those positions, like county clerk position, all these different things that make your life, your day-to-day life, be what it is. If it's not run by a person that really has your interest in mind, your life could be totally different. And that goes back to what you were
Right.
saying in terms of not really going after the vote, but going after Black representation.
Yes, absolutely. And we're talking about how you feel how you used to feel when you see a Black person in position. And this young man, being shot because he's seeing a white person in position. I feel like there's that same sentiment going on with the issuing of that law. Because imagine how these people who've been in power for centuries, since the formation of this country legally,
Mhm.
because it was here before, there were people here, but just the legal formation according to the laws of the land that they created.
Right?
They've always been in power, they've always been in control. So now they're in Atlanta, they're in Henry County, and they're like, they want something done. They got to go and see Madam Chairwoman, who's a Black woman. Every metro Atlanta county right now has a chairperson who is a black woman. That has never happened before until very recently. So, they probably have that same type culture shock. The only difference is they've shown that they have the power to try to change that. But I honestly, even if now there are some groups right now who are fighting that, who want to gotta fight it through the courts, but I don't think that it would change anything. I really don't.
You don't think that fighting it would change anything, or do you think the new
I don't
law?
think the law would because we would have because think about it. The law is saying what can be said on the ballot. It's not saying what the people can say. It's not saying what the party can say. We can absolutely tell people, hey, this is a Republican. This is a Democrat.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping us from saying that. We have people all the time who party switch to run for office when when the um, party that's in the majority is not their party. Right there in Rockdale County, there was Oz Nesbitt, who was a black male Democrat, who was the chairman of the board of commissioners there. He was unseated by a white woman who is a Republican who claims to be a Democrat and ran on a Democratic ticket and won. So I don't think that people knew she was a Republican until too late. Some people knew, but everybody didn't know. But knowing that that type of thing can happen, all we have to do is shout it from the rooftops.